Hi, my name is Kim from K-Craft and I'm going to show you about a brand new system for Parchment Craft. Parchment Craft's been around for hundreds of years and has required a certain amount of skill and patience when doing it. This new system, called the Groovy Parchment Craft system, makes your parchment craft a little bit quicker by bridging some of the gaps of the difficult work that was traditionally done in parchment craft. So what we have is a starter kit that looks like this, and in your starter kit you get everything you need to get going with this craft form. Firstly, you will get an instruction guide in the kit, as well as parchment paper. Next, you'll get 2 parchment crafting tools that you can use. These are more than enough to do any project with, to get that done. Then secondly, you'll get a variety of different plates that you will use to make your initial designs with. In the kit, you will also get your plate mate, which is a plate into which all your other shapes will fit. So take that out of there. And this is your plate mate. And you will see that these smaller plates fit into that plate mate and hold it in position. So if I can show you a little bit more about the variety of plates that you can get when you're doing this. There are hundreds of different designs that you can use. We've got wildflowers, butterflies, mountains, trees. There's a huge array of different designs that you can use to make any project a little bit more personal to your specific taste. So to get started, I'm going to choose 3 plates that we're going to work with today. And that is the wildflowers plate, the butterfly wreath plate, as well as the mountain background. So at the moment, the boards are all on this black background, which gives you a nice clear view of the various designs. What you also can do though is you can make use of a light wave box, which is basically a light box which you switch on. It can go on to very bright or lighter, and then you would put your boards on top of this and work on that just to give you a little bit more light if you're working in challenging light conditions. But today we're not going to use that. We're just going to work on the board that comes in your starter kit. And I'm going to put this aside for now. And we're going to continue with this. So I'm all ready to start with my parchment on top of this. Got my parchment paper that I'm going to position on top of that. I'm going to move it to the position that I need it to be, and then I'm just going to stick it down with a little bit of light tack paper tape to keep it in position. You just don't want it to move too much while you're working with it. There we go. So now it's in position and I can see my butterfly design in there quite nicely. So what I'm going to do is, using my embossing tool, I'm going to use a slightly thicker end first and start tracing the various lines of my butterfly. So there are a variety of different design plates that you can use out there, all with the different fabulous designs. You don't need to use the entire design as it is. Like this is a beautiful design with a wreath and a butterfly and a moon. You can use them as you prefer to use them. So what you can see I'm doing is I'm going around all of these little grooves, first with the broad end. So I'm just creating the initial stretch of the parchment paper, which is going to give it that white line. Once I've done all of that, I'm going to use the sharper end of the embossing tool and go through it all again. Now you may need to do this more than once. You may need to do this 2 or 3 times to get a really good, clear design coming through. And so you just need to take your time and relax and do all of it. So once you've traced the entire pattern off, you're going to flip it over and just have a look and see. There you can see your beautiful butterfly design. And this side, when you run your finger over it, you can feel that it's been embossed. So my next step is to add some wording to this. Now what's great about the Groovy plates is that they have made wording and writing a whole lot easier. They've created special letters and little word and text box for you so that you can put it onto your little project quite easily without much of a challenge. I'm going to turn this around like that. That's my right side, so I'm going to flip the paper over so that I'm working on the wrong side, and I'm going to position it over there right above those 3 little blocks. Again, I'm just going to stick my paper down so that it stays in position, and now I need to trace these 3 little blocks. Starting first again with the thicker end, and I'm just tracing them first with the thicker end of the embossing tool, and then sharpening up my image with the sharper, more pointed end of the embossing tool. There we go. Right, now I can put my letters into this box over here. So I'm going to go to where the letters are. I'm going to move my parchment paper again. And the word that I'm going to be putting on here is joy. So I'm going to look for the letters. There's J, my O, and the Y. But keeping in mind that I'm working on the back of the paper and I need to work from right to left with my word and not from left to right. So to get that right, I need to think very carefully where I'm starting. So when I start with the first letter, J, it's going to be in the far right side. So that now should be the letter joy backwards. I can see I've missed a little bit over there. So you can just go back, position it exactly where it needs to be, and make sure that you fill in the little gap that you've missed, like that. So now I've got a butterfly and the word joy. I now want to add a little bit more to my project. And as I said, you don't have to use the same plates all the time. So I'm not going to use the butterflies that are, at least the flowers that are with the butterfly on this plate. I'm going to change it to a different flower. So I'm going to take this plate out, set it aside, and I'm going to use this template, which is called Wildflowers. So now I've inserted the Wildflowers template into my plate mate. I'm going to put my parchment paper back again. Again, that was the right side. I'm going to use the wrong side. I'm making sure that my plate mate is in the right way because I can read the word groovy over there. If there weren't any letters here, you might find it difficult to know which side is the right side up. You can also feel that the etching is on this side of the plate. That's the side that you want to have up. So now I'm going to add some wildflowers to my project. Okay, and I'm going to stick this down into position, and I'm going to start tracing the flowers. The same procedure as before. You run your tool through all the little grooves of the design. Now the thing with parchment paper, what creates the design is that you are actually stretching the paper. Parchment, when it is stretched, it makes these white lines and the white designs that you see forming the picture. And in that process, the paper actually needs a little bit of time sometimes to rest. If you overwork too much in one place, you can end up damaging the paper. So you need to take your time when you're doing this and repeat with little gaps in between. Wait a little bit, move on to the next piece, carry on. I'm going to add these little wildflowers in over here. And I'm going to move it slightly, my paper slightly to the left to be able to do that. And then I add in these flowers over here. Okay, so you're going to continue with that. I've got a little example that I've already done for you. So once that's finished, it should look like that. Now we're going to flip it over and have a look and see. That's what it looks like on the front side. So I've got my word joy, I've got my butterfly, and I've got my wildflowers. Very important to remember when you're doing this is that your front feature in your project is the thing that you do first. So my main feature was the butterfly and the word joy. Then I've got my wildflowers, and now I'm just going to add a little finishing touch with a little bit of background to give my artwork a little bit of depth, and that is some hills and mountains. So I'm going to use this design template which comes with hills and mountains. I'm going to take this one out, slot this one in, and position my paper over it. That's the right side. I need to flip it over. And I just want to have a little bit of these hills and mountains in the background over there. So when you're working with the background, you need to be sure that you are not going over any of the lines of anything that was in the foreground. So when I do this line, for example, I'm going to go there and I'm going to stop when I get to the leaf. I'll carry on with that line over there as it goes on a little bit further, but always making sure that you stop when you get to any of the items that are in the foreground of the picture. Right, so now I've got my entire picture beautifully etched onto there. You may now want to cut this down to the size of the card or the project that you're going to be, for the actual project that you're working on. That's my front size, so you could cut it down to a card size, which would look like that. You have an option now. You can color this in if you'd like to add some color, and that really makes it a little bit more special. And that's really easy, but what you need to remember, once again, when you color in, is that you color in on the back end. So the coloring in can be done with a variety of products. You can use markers, pencil, crayons, whatever you like to get that done. I'm going to use a combination of products. This is just a watercolor pencil. You would just color them in like that. The various elements of your picture. You could use a little bit of water to blend them. That would work fine as well. You could also use markers and add a little bit of detail color with markers. You don't need to color in the entire picture. You can just add color in parts of it. So for example, if I only wanted to do my butterfly, I could only do the butterfly. You can see the color that you do, when it comes through on the other side, it's much lighter and softer than on the back side that you colored it in on first. So when you're done, you can mount your parchment onto a piece of black cardstock and then adhere that to a colored piece of card, which you can then use just to make a gorgeous gift card. What you can also do is, for an example over here, you can use the same design in a different way. Here I've used the same butterfly template. That is that butterfly template over there. I used the same template to create two completely different cards. So I hope you've learned a little bit more about parchment craft. These starter kits make it really easy for you to get going, and I hope that you'll give it a try. Thank you.